Hello and welcome to another car review video on the channel. Today I'm driving the new Range Rover 2022. So first impressions then, it is very comfortable and it feels a lovely combination of luxury and also really nice up-to-date technology. I've not driven a Range Rover before and it does feel quite wide, which of course it is. It looks very modern in here but still retains a kind of a sort of a luxury and elegance. It's got a bit of a yacht type vibe to it in terms of the kind of architectural type feel of the interior. You've got lovely grained wood, you've got nice chrome, this beautiful cream leather as well is lovely. But then as well as that, in your drawing room, it's like having the latest technology. There's a lovely sort of floating screen here, and all of the graphics look really nice and crisp and almost Scandinavian-like, I suppose you could say. It's got a lovely curve to it as well, so even though it does sit in front of the dashboard, it does make it look like, hey, I've just not slapped an iPad in here. With the curve on it, it just makes it look like it should be part of the interior, even though it's sitting slightly proud of that. The lovely bright instrument binnacle as well. Steering wheel feels quite low, but I'm sure it's adjustable, but it's got a lovely kind of dual tone leather to it. Got paddle shift as well for the automatic gearbox, and I do really like the controls in here. That's similar to what we first saw on the Range Rover Velar, where you've got physical controls but that actually have screen elements built into them, so it's a nice combination of touch screen and physical touch points as well. You've got noise cancelling built into the headrests as well, which cancels out the noise from the engine or wind noise, but not that there really is any. It's a lovely kind of palatial and quiet place to be. The lightness of the interior as well gives it a really nice light and airy feel, but you've also got the sort of full width sunroof as well, or glazed roof, which is lovely. I suppose one thing you could say is gone are the days of the hose-outable Range Rover like the first Range Rover Classic back in the 1970s, but I don't think I'm missing it, to be honest. It's still recognisably a Range Rover despite all of the high-tech elements. You've got the castellated fenders on the bonnet, showing you where it's easy to see where the corners are. But then, sort of against that, you've got or very much up to date, you've got the head-up display, which when you start the car up, it says Land Rover, and then it displays the speed right in front of you. Another classic element that's still present and correct is the split tailgate, but they've gone a little bit further with the split tailgate this time, in that you've got kind of event seating on the back. It still covers you over from the rain as well, but you've also got the speaker system, which when the tailgate is open, it tailors all the audio or directs all the audio to the back of the car so that you can sit there and listen to your music, and acoustically it's kind of worked out to sound good at the back of the car. And you've got cup holders as well. There's plenty of leg room back in the front and in the back, but the Range Rover can also be ordered as a long wheelbase. And now for the first time there's a 7-seater model available, which isn't just kind of like small fold out seats. It can take 7 6'2" adult males apparently. Handling wise, obviously it's not a sports car, but it still feels quite flat when you sort of throw it into a corner, although obviously with a higher ride height it's going to roll a bit, but it does, the electronics do an awful good job to sort of maintain the poise of the car even when you're pressing on quite a bit. But it's not really a car designed for pressing on, it's a car for wafting along, and I think just in these few minutes I've been driving it, it certainly does that very, very well. As I mentioned, this is the first time I've driven a Range Rover, and it is quite surprising how high up it feels, for me anyway. A lot of crossovers sell themselves on being high up, but certainly not in terms of this high up. So it's a very commanding position. Makes you kind of feel king of the world, if you like. I think I normally talk about things like, well, would this fit into my life? And very much it would. I think it is fun to drive. You could tow things with it. You could take the whole family in it. You could obviously cover really big distances and feel really kind of relaxed when you got there. But from my point of view, I like sports cars. I don't think this would tick every single box for me. I couldn't have it as a one-car garage. I'd certainly have to have something more sporting that I could take out when I felt like enjoying the drive a little bit more. but I think I'd enjoy the drive of this, but in a different way, in an everyday, super comfortable, super relaxing kind of way, which is, you know, I've just stated the obvious there. That's exactly what the remit of the Range Rover is supposed to be. Just to go through some of the specs then, for those of you that are into your specs, this particular Range Rover is the top of the range model, other than the first edition model, which is one rung above this. This is the D350 model. It's a 350 brake horsepower diesel, and it's the most powerful diesel model that you can get. It's in Fuji white, interestingly. Base price of this model is 107,000, but this has £14,000 worth of options, so this particular model comes in at £123,000. It's got rear wheel steer as well, the new Range Rover, which turns the wheels by a maximum of 7 degrees, which gives it the same turning circle as a Mini Cooper, which is pretty cool. An interesting fact about the new Range Rover is that it's got no waste seals along the top leading edge of the doors and bodywork into the windows, so even though it doesn't look much, it adds a level of sort of cleanliness and minimalism that is quite difficult to do in manufacturing terms, and that gives it the flush glazing, which gives it a really clean look. It's got noise cancelling speakers, as I probably mentioned in the review already, which makes it a nice serene place to be because it cancels out all the road noise. The interesting thing about this tailgate as well is that they've really thought about this. It's been a classic feature of the Range Rover ever since the first Range Rover, but they've upgraded it a little bit. You've got this sort of event seating now. You've also got cup holders in the sides here, and the stereo is tailored to put the audio to this particular area when you're sitting on it. So it reconfigures the stereo when the tailgate's open, so you can listen to your music while sitting on the tailgate, which is pretty cool. Also, this covers you over, which I think all Range Rovers probably did, but it's really nice sitting here. If it was chucking it down, I wouldn't even get wet. Well, certainly when you put your foot down, it doesn't hang about. It's amazing how quickly it can move this sort of more than 2 tons along when you actually floor it. This is the most powerful diesel model that they make, and it's certainly got a lot of punch when it needs it. Things I really like the head-up display. It's really crisp. It seems to sit in your eye line about 8 inches above the end of the bonnet, and it's got not only the warnings about the speed on it, it's got your current speed, and it pops up with the satellite navigation map and the turn signals when whatever your navigation is programmed as. So that's pretty good. You can drive along having all the information that you need, actually looking out the window. I've not really seen one where it includes the navigation as well, and an actual picture and graphical detail of the map, which is pretty impressive. So I think maybe some people were a little bit maybe disappointed when they saw some of the press photos of the front of the car and thought, well, it looks pretty much the same as what we've seen before. I think the back is new and interesting, and it does have that kind of land yacht or sort of sports boat type elegance to it, that architectural elegance, which is quite nice. But it really is externally, when you get in close to the details and you look at, you know, that simplification of the trim, the new sort of up-to-date door handles, and it's just been kind of smoothed off and simplified in the same kind of way that we're used to with things like Porsche 911s, how they just take and evolve, and when you first look at it you can feel that it's better, but you're not quite sure why. And spending a little bit of time with this that's where you can see and where you can feel if you get close to it. There's just everything else just honed that little bit more just to make it that little bit nicer. So Range Rover obviously had to up their game because there's a lot of competition in the market these days for this type of vehicle. There's the Bentayga, there's the Lamborghini Urus, Audi, there's even the new models from Genesis, and of course there's Porsche Cayenne. Okay, so how would I sum up my brief time with the new Range Rover? Well, it's kind of what I expected, which I suppose you could say I've never experienced a Range Rover, actually driving a Range Rover before. So what did I expect? But it's as luxurious as I thought it would be. It's as comfortable as I thought it would be. I think the technology, sometimes Land Rover, sort of Jaguar Land Rover get criticised of their tech being a bit laggy or a little bit slow in places, but this really seems kind of bang up to date, which it should do because it's their latest iteration. But the graphics are lovely, it's really responsive, it's quite intuitive as well. The instrument binnacle as well is really bright and lovely, and as I mentioned, I really like that head-up display. That's really nicely detailed and sort of a step on from any other head-up displays that I've seen before. It does feel a very different driving experience to what I've been used to before. As I mentioned, it's very high up. It's quite wallowy, but it's not too wallowy. But it's very different to what I'm used to. But I can get used to it because it is extremely comfortable and a nice, relaxing thing to drive. And it certainly feels a very 2022 product. It feels sort of bang on the money. Another thing I do love is the tailgate, that lovely kind of tradition of Range Rover to have that tailgate. But I can imagine that being really useful if you're out for the day with the family, just sitting there, a lovely place to have a picnic. I think that would be a lovely experience. I think it's moved the Range Rover on. It's just sprinkled that little bit more technology in to keep everybody interested, all different types of owners interested. And yeah, I haven't driven a Bentayga, but I can imagine, you know, I would imagine maybe the Bentayga feels a little bit more sporty to drive, but I can't imagine it feeling any more luxurious. So, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you get the chance. Thanks very much, and bye for now.